Spiritual and civil leaders came together on January 1st for the 10th annual New Year's Day Interfaith Prayer for World Peace service held by the Buddhist Association of the United States at the monastery in Kent.
Now, on the New Year, it's always a time when people wish for a better year ahead. And probably the noblest, the most loftiest wish that we can all have is for the transformation of the world from a world of conflict, a world of poverty, a world of distress, into a world of harmony, peace, and shared prosperity. And if there is any community which is, in a sense, qualified to speak on behalf of world peace, it would be the religious and spiritual community, since we dedicate our lives to seeking inner peace and trying to establish global peace. And so it's been a tradition at Huangyan Monastery, as Wayne mentioned, since 1998, on New Year's Day, for us to bring together representatives from the different religions, generally representatives living in Putnam County, Dutchess County, Westchester County, to come together to express our shared aspirations for inner peace, for world peace, and for universal harmony amongst people everywhere. And so, Wayne, would you take over as the MC?
Thank you very much. It's really an honor and a privilege for me to be here. As I had said last year, I've been coming to the monastery ever since I moved to this area, and I love it. It is one of the most peaceful places that I have ever been. And I've been asked to give a prayer for peace, and unable to come up with one that was erudite and eloquent enough. I've chosen a selection by Dr. Jane Goodall. We pray to this great spiritual power in which we live and move and have our being. We pray that we may at all times keep our mind open to new ideas and shun dogma, that we may grow in our understanding of the nature of all living things and our connectedness with the natural world, that we may become even ever more filled with generosity of spirit and true compassion and love for all life, that we may strive to heal the hurts that we have inflicted on nature and control our greed for material things, knowing that our actions are harming our natural world and the future of our children, that we may value each and every human being for who he is or who she is, reaching to the spirit that is within, knowing the power of each individual to change the world. We pray for social justice, for the alleviation of the crippling poverty that condemns millions of people around the world to lives of misery, hungry, sick, and utterly without hope. We pray for the children who are starving, who are condemned to homelessness, slave labor, and prostitution, and especially for those forced to fight, to kill, and torture even members of their own family. We pray for the victims of violence and war, for those wounded in body and for those wounded in mind. We pray for the multitude of refugees forced from their homes to alien places through war or through the utter destruction of their environment. We pray for an end to cruelty, whether to humans or to animals, for an end to bullying and torture in all its forms. We pray that we may learn the peace that comes with forgiving and the strength we gain in loving, that we may learn to take nothing for granted in this life, that we may learn to see and understand with our hearts, that we may learn to rejoice in our being. We pray for these things with humility. We pray because of the hope that is within us and because of a faith in the ultimate triumph of the human spirit. We pray because of our love for creation, and because of our trust in God, we pray above all for peace throughout the world.
The supervisor, Maureen Fleming, mentioned, an honor and a privilege to be here with you. I always feel that my own words about what peace and justice and dialogue means pales in front of the words of Pope Francis. And so I'd like to read to you two short paragraphs that I found that are meaningful, at least for myself. And I hope they are for you. Interreligious dialogue, he says, is a necessary condition for peace in the world. And it's a duty for Christians as well as other religious communities. This dialogue is, in first place, a conversation about human existence, or simply, as the bishops of India have put it, a matter of being open to them, sharing their joys and sorrows. In this way, we learn to accept others and their different ways of living, thinking, and speaking. We can then join one another in taking up the duty of serving peace and justice, which should become a basic principle of all our exchanges. A dialogue which seeks social peace and justice is in itself beyond all merely practical considerations, an ethical commitment which brings about a new social environment.
Periods in human history where warfare is not taking place, but already the forces which are about to erupt in violence can be gathering steam and ready to break out again. When I speak about peace, what I mean is true harmony. Harmony between human beings amongst themselves, harmony between human beings and nature, and harmony within people, harmony within one's own mind. To make it easy to remember these three principles, the obstacles to peace, the aspirations for achieving peace, and the means for realizing these aspirations, I'm treating each of these three major topics in terms of three subordinate themes, each one of which begins with the letter B. I realized this morning in the shower that it would be difficult to translate that into Chinese. Okay, the three obstacles to peace. The first is profit. Now by this I don't mean the normal profit that businesses seek, which is part of their mode of operation. But what I mean is the quest for unbridled profit driven by greed. This is the kind of drive for profit that takes place when large corporations span the world, putting the lives of people at risk, putting our planet at risk, devastating our sources of natural resources, all in order to fulfill their imperative to increase the profit margin, to increase the benefits to the shareholders. Okay, the second obstacle to peace is what I call plunder. And this is what is happening now when the big fossil fuel corporations plunder the earth in quest of oil, gas, coal, other types of fossil fuels, again driven by the quest for profit, even at the cost of devastating our natural environment, spewing toxins into the environment, increasing the level of carbon emissions to the point where the future of this planet itself is endangered. The third obstacle to peace is poverty, global poverty. Here in New York State, we might be living at a fair level of physical comfort, but in this world of 7 billion people, approximately 3 billion people are living in constant poverty. According to recent statistics, almost 900 million people live in perpetual food insecurity, and every year some 6 million people, many of them, most of them in fact children, die from hunger and hunger-related illnesses. This at a time when corporations are making tremendous profits, and a small number of people are living in tremendous, inconceivable luxury. According to some statistics that I found, the richest 70 people in the world now own more wealth than the poorest half of the world. And in the United States, just 43 individuals own as much as the bottom half of America. Okay, so these are 3 obstacles to peace: profit-seeking, plunder, poverty. Okay, 3 ideals to be pursued in the quest for peace. First is what I call protection. And this means to protect people everywhere, to regard all human beings as precious and invaluable, to regard all human beings as possessed of intrinsic dignity, and to seek to ensure that everybody can enjoy a satisfactory standard of living and fulfill their aspirations. The second aspiration that we should set is what I call preservation. And this means the preservation of the earth and the natural environment. The earth is our irreplaceable home. Maybe the giant corporations, the fuel corporations, the mineral corporations see the earth as a base of resources. But instead of thinking of the earth as resources, we should think of it as the source, not a resource, but the source of all life, vegetable life, animal life, human life. And if we're going to plunder the earth in the quest for profits, we're going to destroy the very foundations of our civilization, perhaps even the possibility for higher forms of life to thrive on this planet. The third aspiration is for prosperity. This is not the narrow conception of prosperity by which we seek, just a few individuals seek to enhance their wealth to astronomical proportions, but rather a shared prosperity, establishing the conditions for all people on earth to secure a basis for material well-being so they can can pursue their higher aspirations, can establish satisfactory family relationships, community relationships, and pursue their ethical and spiritual ideals. So these are the 3 aspirations: to protect people everywhere, to preserve the planet, and to establish a shared prosperity. Ways or means by which we can achieve this, and here I'm speaking particularly from a religious or spiritual perspective. One is prayer or meditation, by which we seek to develop our inward spiritual capacities in order, I would say, to come into contact with a transcendent principle, a transcendent reality which moves imperceptibly towards justice, love, and harmony. By aligning the vibrations of our own inner being with this cosmic or supercosmic vibration tending towards universal unity and peace, we can become instruments for establishing peace in the world. And it's prayer, meditation, contemplation which are the means for establishing that harmony with the higher transcendent reality. The second means for establishing peace is peace itself. That is, peace is not only a goal, but is also part of the means to that goal. For it's when we have inner peace that we can work effectively to bring peace into the world. So we have on one side inner peace, the other side world peace, but the two do not really exist on separate sides of a room, but rather it's through inner peace that we can become centers of radiation that will establish outer peace. And it's also world peace that will provide better conditions for people to seek inner peace. The third means for establishing peace is something that religious people too often, especially contemplative people, too often forget. And this I call participation. That is, it's not enough just to achieve inner peace, but it's necessary to apply one's inner peace, one's inner ethical standards, to achieving world peace, world sanity, preserving the world through participation through different channels. It can be through petitions, and there are many opportunities to sign petitions over the internet for establishing greater economic justice, action against climate change, protection of animal rights, alleviation of poverty, and so forth. So petitions, demonstrations, participating in demonstrations. For example, in New York City, this past September, we had the People's Climate March, which brought together 400,000 people to demonstrate that the time has come for the world leaders to take action to protect the world's climate from the depredations of the fossil fuel corporations. Then regularly what's been going on over the past year has been demonstrations by low-wage workers in New York City, people who are earning just $8 an hour, wages that don't allow them to get health care, even to buy sufficient food to feed their families. So there's opportunities for petitions, demonstrations, voting, using your right to vote, writing letters to congressmen asking them to take action on the issues that you feel are important. So it's necessary to bring together what I call the depth of the inward meditative consciousness with the active engagement of, you might call this, the prophetic consciousness. The consciousness which seeks to use ethical ideals as a means for transforming the world in the direction.
Sukiyatana